Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. 2024 has led me to discover some older games that I may have missed in my younger years, all the way back from the 8-bit era to the best that 3D gaming has to offer. But most recently, I decided to jump back into Nintendo's motion-controlled behemoth that is the Wii. And while looking through that library of games, there was one title that really jumped off the page. And that title was MADWORLD. MADWORLD is a mature-rated beat-em-up made by Sega back in 2009. M-rated games on the Wii were somewhat of a rarity, so it's certainly interesting for that alone, but Sega really pushed things as far as they possibly could without stepping into the adult-only rating. This game is slinging out F-bombs left and right, can't go a few minutes without mentioning blowjobs, we've got pimps, hookers, and of course over-the-top violence that challenge the likes of Gears of War. But that's not the only part of what initially grabbed my attention. I mean, we just have to address these visuals. The commitment to this black and white cel-shaded art style does a couple of things for me. The most obvious being how it emphasizes the deep red when cutting up enemies, or the orange comic book style onomatopoeia that appear when performing certain actions. We've got some major comic book influence here, which makes sense. They definitely took inspiration from the Sin City graphic novels. Maybe not from its dark, moody tone, but the visuals undeniably. The choice to use cel shading, I think, lends itself well to the fictional world that this is. They aren't going for any sort of realism with their graphics, and with how over the top and absurd everything is in this game, I think it was definitely the right choice. It's dark and gritty, but also hilarious and cartoonish.
Y'all know who I am. That's right, the Bishop of Blood and Carnage, the Black Baron. Now back to this baby. You just toss a motherfucker into this here jet engine and accelerate that ass into the danger zone at 30,000 G's. What's going on, baby? Yeah, can't you see? Hey, what you doing? I'm talking to the people. I'm breaking it down. Ah, God, bitch! I'm gonna pimp smack your ass when I get.
And while humor can certainly be this game's strength, I would say that it misses with one key detail. You see, the entire game is narrated by what are essentially sportscasters. As this game show is a televised event, naturally they need some announcers to keep the audience engaged. Now these guys are complete idiots and ramble off some of the most inappropriate and incoherent analyses you could possibly think up, and I'd say for the most part they succeed as the comic relief of the story. Unfortunately, the developers felt the need to have these two exchange dialogue at every possible second during the game. On a base level, this can get pretty annoying, but to make matters worse, they're constantly repeating the same lines over and over and over again.
I don't know if that alien was a dude or a chick, but Jack sure made it his bitch. I don't know if that alien was a dude or a chick, but Jack sure made it his bitch. I don't know if that alien was a dude or a chick, but Jack sure made it his bitch.
Alright, I get it!
That joke, that may have been funny the first time, completely loses all punch the 15th time you've heard it. But back to some positives, the music is also a standout to me as it features some looping hip-hop tracks that got stuck in my head weeks after initially finishing the game. I think most developers would have chosen more of a hard rock vibe for a game like this, so I was really happy to hear that they went in another direction.
Yeah, maybe you right, it might. Downtown where the crime is right, the time is right to bust this dynamite. Oh, you come, the harder you fall. So come harder, don't come at all. I leave you score, leave you all, leave you in pieces 3 feet tall. Let's go, we can have it all.
There is a bit of a drawback, however, as each level simply loops the same song over and over again, and every level takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete, give or take. So you might be listening to the same track 8 to 10 times, if not more. If you like the song, that's great. But if you don't, it may start to weigh on you. But continuing on with the incredible tone of MADWORLD, the character designs are equally ridiculous, featuring muscle-headed thugs, zombies, ninja, and more, not to mention the boss designs who are meant to fit into the overall theme of each level. And let me just say, they did a bang-up job with our main protagonist, Jack. A professional killer past his prime who doesn't take shit from anyone. He's calm and cool as he casually chops men in two and smokes cigarettes in the shadows before slowly revealing himself for the camera. And as we all know, that's a trademark for any established badass. But let's talk more about Jack and what the hell is going on with the story here, because I was actually quite impressed. At first glance, I fully expected the narrative to be bare bones, with the one and only objective being to set our character on the path of destruction. And I don't want to oversell what we get here, but there are some layers. We're a contestant in a dark web game show called Bloodwatch. The entire island that is Jefferson City has been blocked off from the outside world, and it's kill or be killed. Last one standing gets to keep their life, as well as $100 million. Naturally, this draws the attention of common thugs and, strangely enough, supernatural enemies like zombies, aliens, and robots. And no, this isn't really explained, we just kinda have to roll with it. But our main character, Jack, is initially presented as a total unknown fighter, coming out of the woodwork to make a name for himself, and he does so in epic fashion, taking down high-ranking contestants one after another. But MADWORLD makes it clear that there is more to his backstory, and he may not be who he initially appears. I have to admit, the answers we get to these mysteries are actually really solid and fun to watch play out, so I won't spoil anything just in case you want to check it out for yourself. So the visuals are solid, the music is great, the narrative a little bit more complex than I initially gave it credit for. So now we can finally get into the true meat and potatoes of MADWORLD, the gameplay. So everyone's played a beat 'em up before, right? Wave after wave of enemies waddled towards you, the only true threat being their sheer numbers and the risk of getting cornered and overwhelmed. Well, the same can be said for MADWORLD, and this is the best way to describe the general gameplay here, a third-person beat 'em up. But instead of moving from one side of the screen to the other, progression is based solely on accumulating enough points from killing enemies in brutal fashion. Allow me to explain, because this did take me a bit of getting used to. Every level has multiple stages to it. Each stage is unlocked by killing enemies and reaching a certain point threshold. Reaching the first threshold may unlock a special weapon or item for you to use. The next threshold could give you access to a goofy and over-the-top bonus stage, while the final threshold presents you with the level's boss fight, the end. But the process of accumulating all these points actually required some adjustment on my part. The most simple and easy way to get points would be to just run around with your chainsaw, hack and slash until the job is done, and while you certainly can do it this way, it's actually not the most efficient. What you want to do instead is rack up as many environmental kills as possible. For instance, grab a signpost and jab it through a guy's neck. Then proceed to repeatedly slam this man into a nearby spike over and over for extra multipliers in points. Cut off enemy appendages, stuff them inside a barrel, throw them into a meat grinder. The more injuries you can stack onto a target before finishing them off, the better. It takes a bit more planning and is more timely to execute, but the increase in points that it gives you actually makes it the most efficient way to play. And the actual combat itself is pretty darn satisfying too. You have your standard punches and kicks by mashing the A button, but this being a Wii title, it obviously has some motion control inputs as well. You can swing the Wiimote and nunchuck for heavy punches, chainsaw finishers, headbutts, and to throw objects and people. All of this inside an open sandbox style arena with light platforming and an encouragement to get creative with your kills. Now, a downside to the Wii controls is that there's only one joystick for movement, which means the camera can be a bit finicky. They go back in time to the tried and true Z targeting style of control that you'd be familiar with if you played, say, an Ocarina of Time. You turn your character to face the direction you want, then press the C button to snap the camera behind them. They also have a lock-on feature if you hold down the C button, which is much appreciated for the game's boss battles. Speaking of which, these boss battles are pretty darn good. Each has their own distinct design, gimmick, and aesthetic to their arena, and are by far the most challenging parts of the game. I died at least once to nearly every boss, but they never felt insurmountable or unfair. They're also home to some of the most gruesome QTEs and death animations I've ever seen. yes, I'll say it, motion control QTEs are still awesome. All in all, gameplay can get repetitive, but we're talking about a 7 to 8 hour game in totality, so it's over before the routine gets too stale. It's also such an easy game to jump in, knock out a couple stages, and jump out. It's fun, beautiful, unique, and an interesting ride with more profanity and violent imagery than you're likely to find in the rest of the Wii's library combined.
I don't know if that alien was a dude or a chick, but Jack sure made it his bitch.
Well guys, that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much traveling back in time to Nintendo's wild motion control era of video games. MADWORLD certainly has the Looney Tunes stamp of approval, but I'd like to know from you, what are some of your favorite Wii games? What are some that you're maybe nostalgic for, or perhaps discovered more recently? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Like, subscribe, share the video around, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.